Why Not Victory by Barry Goldwater. I have a signed copy of this book. Barry Goldwater was the Republican nominee for president in 1964. He ran against Lyndon Johnson. This was like immediately after JFK's assassination. The election came up the next year and it pitted Barry Goldwater against LBJ, and LBJ creamed Barry Goldwater. But I've always been intrigued about Barry Goldwater because Barry Goldwater was kind of like the closest we have had to a libertarian president in the modern day. And why I say that is Barry Goldwater was pretty socially liberal. So on issues like gay marriage and abortion and stuff, he was more on the Democratic side on those. But on fiscal policy and stuff, he was more conservative. He was more right wing. What I am most intrigued about was his foreign policy because Goldwater has kind of been knocked for essentially believing that we should use nuclear weapons casually in combat. And I think he may have said like we should like nuke the forests of Vietnam to just get rid of the forests so we don't have to fight through the jungles and all that. And yeah, so I didn't actually read that in this book, but Barry Goldwater was very avidly anti-communist, and that's basically what this book is. He is just talking about how we need to defeat communism and we need to be strong. We need to have a strong military. So he's really adamant in the book about like expanding the size of the military, and he's also like against disarmament and stuff, especially like nuclear disarmament. And I don't want to go into like the particulars of all that, but yeah, so usually libertarians are more anti-war. Libertarians are more like, hey, all this stuff going on across the world, all these wars are not our business. We should not be fighting those wars. Those wars do not really have to do with protecting the American people. We have fought all these wars in the past and they're obviously not working. So we need to stop all these useless wars. That is usually the libertarian position, but Barry Goldwater was more the opposite. Barry Goldwater was kind of like, we need to nuke all these guys. We need to get rid of the communists. So anyway, I was really intrigued to read in Barry Goldwater's own words what he actually thought. And I'm really conflicted on it because parts of it seems like it's very much like what Reagan did, where Reagan really grew the military and the Soviets couldn't really keep up. And that may have had some part in the Soviet Union collapsing. That's a real simplified version. There's probably a lot more reasons than that. But that's kind of the gist of it, is that Reagan is kind of credited with the demise of the Soviet Union. So on that standpoint, it's like, yeah, that's kind of what Barry Goldwater was talking about, having a strong military. But then he's also talking about, like, in this book, he does say that we should invade Cuba. And that is just like a real bad thing, I think, because if we would have done that, the Soviets would have invaded Berlin. And anyway, so yeah, reading the book, I'm really kind of more of the opinion that it's probably a good thing Barry Goldwater lost the election, even though Lyndon Johnson actually increased the Vietnam War. He escalated the Vietnam War. I don't know. I really don't know about Barry Goldwater's foreign policy views because he's such a military war hawk. He's basically pro-war. And yeah, I don't like that. But at the same time, I'm not sure if we can necessarily say that he's wrong because, I mean, we still are dealing with communist China. Cuba is still a communist country. Venezuela is pretty much that way. Brazil is definitely going that way. So I don't know. I can't really say that, Goldwater was wrong. Maybe he was right. I don't know. I will also say that the book was just not really fun to read. It was quite a tedious read. It was not very enjoyable to read. I was just tired of it. And I'm interested in this stuff. I want to read about his foreign policy views and I like politics. But in spite of that, even I was bored of this book. So, yeah, I'm really conflicted about Barry Goldwater, and this book did not really help me form my opinion. If anything, I'm probably a little bit more negative about Barry Goldwater than I am positive. This guy seriously could have caused global nuclear war if he was president. So, yeah, I'm not sure if he was exactly the right guy for the presidency.